Okay, Thursday's 8/5 angles of elevation and depression for 2020. So this is for Thursday and Friday, page 133 right up there. In the text, it's 580 through 581. So I'm going to zoom it in a little bit so you can see what we're doing and do the left side, then the right side, okay? So here we go. Whoops, too much. Too much, come back. Come back, here we go. So, angles of elevation and depression. An angle of elevation is the angle that's formed by a horizontal line in an observer's line of sight to an object above the horizon line, horizontal line. An angle of depression is the angle formed by the horizontal line and the angle of sight, line of sight to an object below the horizontal line. So you can see if you're here, your angle of depression is going to go down, of course. The line of sight goes down to the line of sight here if you're looking down. If you're here and looking up, the angle of elevation goes up from the horizontal line to the line of sight. So those are the two different angles of depression or elevation. As you can see, if you have parallel lines cut by a transversal, alternate interior angles are equal. So horizontal lines are parallel, so the angle of elevation and the angle of depression in a diagram are congruent by the alternate interior angle theorem. So let me move that so you can see it sideways a little bit better. So now we're going to do example 1. So I'm going to move it out a little bit. Example 1, come on here. Example 1 says, Leah wants to see the castle and amusement park. She sights the castle at an elevation of 38 degrees. So here's your 38 degrees. Here's the line of sight. She knows that this castle is 190 feet tall. Leah is 5.5 feet tall. How far is the castle how far is she from the castle to the nearest foot? So 190 right there. And we're trying to find this length. So we know the 38 degrees. So we know opposite and we know the adjacent sides. We know 190 and we know this length here as well. No, we're trying to find that length. So we'd call that X. That would be AC or X, as they call that. So here we go. Since Leah is 5.5 feet tall, BC is equal to 190 minus 5.5 or 184.5 feet. Let X represent the distance. Okay, so there's your X. And now, which trig function are you going to use? If you have opposite and adjacent, well, you're going to use TOA because tangent is opposite over adjacent. So we say the tangent of angle A, which is her angle, is BC over AC. BC is the opposite side over the adjacent side, AC. So AC and B was up here. You just couldn't see it. All right, BC over AC. So the tangent of 38, we fill that in, 38 degrees equals 184.5, because that's 190 minus her height, 5.5, is 184.5 over X. Now, how do you solve that? I would actually put a 1 underneath the tangent of 38 and do the product of the means. So the product of the means is these two equals the product of the extremes, or it doesn't matter which way. Some people call it the cross product. So you'd have tangent of 38 times X equals 184.5. Then you would divide by the tangent of 38. Hopefully you can see that. And then you have X equals, and then you do this on your calculator. So on your calculator, if you had your calculator, you would say the 184 point, well, I would make a fraction first. F1 fraction, 184.5 divided by the tangent. Use your tangent ratio, 38 parentheses equals 236.1 or 236 feet from the castle. And that's how you would do that on your calculator. All right. Example 1 down here at the bottom says, I'm going to slide this down a little bit so you can see the whole thing. The crossbar of a goalpost is 10 feet high. If a field goal attempt is made 25 yards from the base of the goalpost that clears the goal by 1 foot, what is the smallest angle of elevation at which the ball could have been kicked to the nearest degree? Now here's your answer right here, 8 degrees. Let's see how we can figure that out. So my beautiful drawing here, as you can see, here's the goal post. I'll put the goal post in a nice fluorescent orange. There we go. And there's your goal post. Now that represents right there a foot higher. So we'd have 10 feet is the goal post, but we have to go 11 feet because the ball has to go a foot over. That's what it says. So we have 11 feet there. And we know this is 25 yards. From here to here is 25 yards, which we have to now change it to 75 feet because you can't have yards and feet. You must have the same unit measurements. So that's why I have parentheses change here. Which trig function would you use then? So you're standing at angle A, you know the opposite side, you know the adjacent side. So opposite and adjacent is TOA. So we'd say the tangent of angle A is 10 over 75. We do the inverse tangent of both sides, and we get inverse tangent of 10 over 75 is 7.5 or 8 degrees. So I'm going to do that on the calculator. So clear, inverse tangent of 10 divided by 75, parentheses, is 7.5 or 7.6 actually, or rounded, well, it's rounded to the nearest degree, so that's 8. All right, that's how you do example 1 there. Now we're going to move to example 2 on the next page. Example 2 is an angle of depression problem. So this one, you really need this one for problem number 7 on one of your pages. Problem number 7 in the workbook, page 106. So this will help page 106, workbook, page 106, number 7. So I got one student already has got to that, which is Fridays. See if you can figure it out. A search and rescue team is airlifting people from a scene of a boating accident when they observe another person in need of help. If the angle of depression to this other person is 42 degrees and the helicopter is 18 feet above the water, what is the horizontal distance from the rescuers to this person to the nearest foot? So if you make a sketch, there's my beautiful sketch. Look at my drawing. Isn't that great? And there's my sketch. Here's your angle of depression right here, 42 degrees. As you know, that angle right there is by alternate interior angles of 2 parallel lines, the same as that angle right there. Okay? That is A and C and D. If you can see that. And that's what it says since that's all equal. So we will say if we're standing at angle C, we know the opposite side and we want to find the adjacent side, which is the distance away from the person in the water. They're coming down, then they're going to go to the person. So we'd say the tangent of angle C is opposite over adjacent, or 18 over x. Now, I would, again, put a 1 under here and make this a proportion. Okay, make that a proportion, please. And then I would do the product of them. They have the extremes, because you want x on the left side is equal to the product of the extreme means. Product of the extremes equals the product of the means. It doesn't matter which way you go. So I would write x tangent of 42 equals 18. Now I'm going to divide both sides by the tangent of 42, which I'm not going to write because I don't have any room. And you get x equals 18 over the tangent of 42. So if I work that out, F1, I always like to make a fraction, 18 divided by the tangent of 42, 42, and whoops, delete that, and I get 19.99 or 20 feet. Let's see if we're in terms of feet. Yep, 18 feet, so it's 20 feet right there. They don't write it. I wish they would have. 20 feet from the person. And that's how you get the, oh, I guess it says it right here. Duh. All right, there we go for that one. Answer, 20 feet. All right, last problem. Lifeguarding. A lifeguard is watching a bench from a line of sight. Okay, here's your line of sight. From a beach. Hey, guys, look at the beach. Well, I just walked it the other day. So a lifeguard is watching a beach from a line of sight 6 feet above the ground. Okay, 6 feet above the ground. She sees a swimmer at an angle of depression of 8 degrees. How far away from the tower is the swimmer? So here's your answer, about 43 feet. Let's see what happens. I drew a picture of here's the lady. And here's my angle of depression 8. I know that's 6 feet from here to here. I want to find this length from here, x. So which trig function would I use? How far away from the tower is the swimmer? Okay, from the tower. So I would use which one? So, right? Opposite over hypotenuse. So I would go from 8 degrees, you have the opposite over hypotenuse. So therefore, the sine of 8 degrees equals 6 over x. Make a proportion, like I said, sine of 8 over 1 equals 6 over x. Do the product of the extremes here. It equals the product of the means. Doesn't matter which way you say it or which way you do it, but I always like to get my x on the left side. Times the sine of x, sine of 8. Divide by the sine of 8. Nah, I don't like how I did that right there. Shouldn't go across that x because you want to bring that x down and to the right. Okay, that's 1. 6 over the sine of 8 is 43 degrees, which is your answer here up at the top. So 6, let me do this one, 6 divided by, and I'm going to do that one like that, sine of 8, and you get 43.1 or 43. Okay, so you can either that, you don't even need parentheses on that, as you can see, alpha F1, you could have done it 6 over the sine of 8 like that. And they put the parentheses in for you. Either way. All right, good luck.